Morning, Wilmington. It is your main man, Big Iv, the talk of the town, Mr. DETV, CH.com. Got a little excited right there. Sorry about that. But good morning. It's another beautiful day in Wilmington and in the state of Delaware. And today I wanted to go over a couple things that's happening within this city and within the state that you should definitely know about. One is Newcastle County is having the easiest test, COVID test, that you can possibly take. It's not about administering, the Q-tip in the back of your nostril. It's just a gentle swab. So you want to make sure you be a part of that. And the next one is tomorrow at Howard High School between 12 p.m. and 3:30 at 401 East 12th Street. Make sure you go check that out. Very, very important. We want to make sure that the whole Delaware is safe, because this COVID-19 thing has definitely made an impact. But again, we're Delaware strong and we're Wilmington strong, so we can get through this. Make sure you check that out. Shout out to Newcastle County. Also, I wanted to talk about the Hour of Prayer, Saturday, June 27th at the Glasgow Park. You definitely don't want to miss that. And what's so awesome about that, it's about the community and police officers coming out and praying. So you praying together. So you definitely want to be a part of that. Again, June 27th from 12 to 1:30 at Glasgow Park at the top of the hill. So shout out to my man Noel for putting that together. Okay, let's get down to it. Today I have two amazing women, two special guests that you definitely want to just embark on this conversation. So when you want, put your comments below, and if we could get to them, we'll get to them. But first, I have to say welcome to the show, Attorney General Kathy Jennings and State Representative Mimi Brown. Ladies, how you ladies doing today?
Thank you, Ivan, and good morning. We're doing just fine.
Mimi, what's happening?
I'm doing great, Ivan. Thank you so much for having me.
So, ladies, I want to say again, thanks for coming. Every time I call, you ladies are like, whatever you need. So what I need today is some information about what is going on in Delaware, especially down Dover. So let's start with me. Let's start with Mimi. Current events, a lot of stuff happening. What you doing down in Dover?
Well, actually, we're not doing anything in Dover. We're doing everything at home these days. But we've got a lot going on in regards to legislation. This session, we were originally only going to work on legislation related to COVID-19.
Okay.
And maintaining our state's economy. Mm-hmm. And then George Floyd happened.
Yeah. So
the Black Caucus got together, and we do have legislation that we are going to roll out this session, and then we have a slew of legislation that we're going to work on throughout off season and come back in January, all related to criminal justice reform and just addressing the inequities that we see in the African American communities.
Right. I see. Now, Kathy, let me ask you this. I saw when you were speaking at the press conference, and you had this look on your face of just straight compassion, empathy, and a look of determination. Can you talk to me about the initiatives that was introduced at the Black Caucus press conference?
Sure, Ivan, and thank you for this opportunity. We have listened to the voices of the people we serve in the state of Delaware, across the nation, and across our world, that it is time to change the inequities that we see in our system that are race-based inequities, mm-hmm. and that result in injustice to Black people in our state, to Black people across our country and across the world. I have never seen so many people turn out to say what should be a fundamental truth for all of us, and that is Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter.
Wow. Now, Mimi, mm-hmm. You have something, a bill on the floor too, but before we get to that, when you saw that George Floyd video, as a mother, what was going through your mind?
Ivan, it was hard to watch, but I watched the whole thing. I sat there and I said to myself, I'm getting ready to watch this man die on Facebook Live. with a knee in his neck and another officer holding him down. And, you know, as a mother, it hurts. As a black woman, it hurts. As a wife of a black man, it hurts. Because that's the pain that we feel often. You know, I was talking to my colleague, and she was talking about how her son gets his driver's license next year. And although she's happy for him, she's fearful for him. You know, I was talking to my neighbor because her son plays with my son, and he's white, and my son plays with her son, and they're both 6. But unfortunately, my son cannot play in her backyard if I'm not there. You know, her son can come to my house, but my son can't go to hers because I don't know what will happen. I don't know what will happen if they're outside playing with toy guns, and I'm not willing to take that chance. So it hurts, and I mean, it doesn't just hurt me. Our whole world is hurting. I haven't picked up the phone and called one black person who is not hurting. Mm-hmm. We're all feeling that pain. We're feeling the stress. We're feeling the anxiety of it all. We're feeling that rage inside of us because this is something that is constantly happening. You know, no longer are we asking to eat at the same table. You know, we're not asking for our kids to go to the same schools. Now, we're asking you to just stop killing us. You know, how hard is that? So, I mean, I can go on and on about this, you know, and it's even harder that my son is 6 now. So he is able to watch this and understand this, and I have to respond to his questions and still try to empower him as a young black boy, and that's hard.
Wow. Kathy, when you saw the video, what was going through your mind?
It's what was going through my mind, but also my heart. George Floyd's last moments, upon saying, "I can't breathe," he asked for his mom, and now he's with his mom. We cannot let his death be in vain and go unanswered. It is time to change, and it's time to change now. As a mother, I was heartbroken seeing that, and I was also angry. I was angry because George Floyd did not need to die. It was a senseless murder. And it is incumbent upon all of us as leaders to change and to make sure that people are safe and that everyone is treated equally and that everyone has the same rights in this country and that children don't need to be afraid when they go out in public. Are they going to be treated differently because of the color of their skin? That people who are driving in our state aren't going to be treated differently because of the color of their skin. We have to recognize that our hearts and minds have to change in order to make these difficult decisions on how to make change happen that matters. Not the easy stuff, but the really hard things. Hard things are hard to do, as a very good friend of mine always says, and now is the time. People expect it of us, and leaders like Representative Mimi Brown and so many others are going to do it. I want to support them, and I want to help in the change that's necessary to make our state not only safer, but fairer.
Mimi.
Yeah.
State Rep Mimi, you have a bill on the floor about video interrogations with minors. Can you talk a little bit about with the youth? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So this bill will mandate that all interrogations that involve juveniles will have to be video recorded. And this is so important because children just interacting with law enforcement can be scary. It can be frightening for kids. And we want to make sure that if a child is interrogated, that they are treated fairly, that they are not coerced, and you know, we get the result that is fair for that child. We all know kids make rash decisions. Mine does, teenagers especially do. You know, so we just want to make sure that when that child is in that room being questioned by law enforcement, that they are treated fairly. We don't, you know, we saw what happened to the Central Park Five. You know, we've heard stories about men who were sentenced to life in prison or even received a death sentence for something that they did not do. And it all comes down to that interrogation process. So we just want to make sure that we are video recording these interrogations and monitoring what's going on in that room.
Now, Mimi, this bill was presented before by Darius Brown, right?
It was. So Senator Brown was the prime sponsor in the Senate, and I was the prime House sponsor for interrogations for everyone, not just minors. So that would include adults. And unfortunately, that we got some pushback, we got some opposition. So the bill was actually pulled or put on hold. So I circled back and just included juveniles to at least try to get that one passed now. And we can come back to the table and we can have the discussion about including adults later on. You know, I don't know what the pushback is, you know, because I personally would want to be transparent during an interrogation, but we'll have the conversation.
Now, Kathy, how do you feel about that bill?
I fully support it. I fully supported the recording of all interrogations in this state. I agree with Representative Brown and Senator Darius Brown that we begin to build trust when the public can see what is going on. And we need to make sure that people are treated fairly. I believe that the vast majority of police officers in our state would agree with that as well and do that every day in their jobs. However, the recording of statements ensures the public, ensures juries, ensures prosecutors, and ensures defense attorneys that you are actually seeing what happened in that interrogation room. I fully support it.
I really don't understand, just for me, you know, being on the outside of why wouldn't people want to support that? Why is such a pushback? Like you said, total transparency. And I know as a black man of being interrogated by the police, some are very forceful and some, you know, do things that are not too much on the record. Which brings me to police reform. What do you ladies, and I'll start with Kathy on this. What do you think about police reform?
I think it's needed. We see that it's needed across our country, and it's incumbent upon us to act upon it. I believe that there are many, many good police officers who do things the right way, who are heavily involved in understanding their communities and working with their communities hand in glove. I want to see that happen everywhere. But we need to recognize that change is necessary so that everyone can be treated equally. I would begin with banning chokeholds.
Okay.
The second thing I think we need to do is to change our state statute on use of force so that it is an objective test and not a subjective test. The third thing is we need a statewide program for body-worn cameras, just as we should video record interrogations. Having body-worn cameras on every police officer in this state will help build trust. I believe it's time for us to institute a civilian review board that has subpoena power and that has accountability and oversight with all police departments in our state. And finally, I believe that Delaware desperately needs a statute that criminalizes the deprivation of someone's civil rights under color of law. It is the federal law. We need it in our state as well so that the Attorney General's office can investigate those instances.
Love it, love it. Mimi, police reform.
You know what? I agree with every single thing that AG Jennings said. Also, we really need to look at de-escalation techniques.
Okay.
Because, you know, we saw another black man get killed over the weekend at Wendy's. And I watched that hour-and-a-half long video, and what I saw was officers interrogating and antagonating a man that was inebriated. I mean, they smelled the alcohol. You could tell he was drinking. He had slurred speech. He was confused. He didn't even know where he was. And these officers were just asking the same questions over and over again, expecting a different answer. How many drinks did you have from the time you started drinking until now? How's that man supposed to answer that question when he doesn't even know where he is? You know, so and now the man is dead. I look at that and I think, what could you have done differently? You know, the man is sitting there. He's saying he was hungry. He says he wanted a burger. But one thing he said that stuck with me was he had just visited his mother's grave.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, is there depression? You know, what is going on with this person? You know, instead of interrogating that man for as long as they did, why not have them phone a friend? Say, hey, is there someone that we can call to come pick you up?
Right.
You know, can we offer you a ride? You're saying you're at the hotel down the street. Maybe we should call and see if you actually have a reservation there. We can give you a ride. How about get the man a burger? Help soak up some of that alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, something. But as soon as they said, I mean, he complied with every single thing that they asked him to do. And as soon as they said, put your hands behind your back, everything changed and it went bad. And that's what we really need to look at, because something is wrong with that picture. Then they get into a tussle, and he takes the taser and he runs, and then you shoot him 3 times, and then after the 3 shots, what do I hear? The officer saying, put your hands behind your back. So now he's shot 3 times on the ground, and you're yelling at this man to put your hands behind your back. I don't even know how that is even possible. You know, so we really, really need to look at that. I mean, we've seen situations where, I guess what we need to ask ourselves is, if he were white, would that have been the outcome? Because I've seen people shoot up schools, I've seen people bomb buildings, and they get in that cop car alive. So this man was drunk. What's wrong with that? Something is seriously wrong with that. We need to really figure out how we're going to address it, because it's just not going to work. And what you're going to see more of these protests.
Yeah.
You're going to see the anger come out because people are tired. You know, that man, he was afraid. When they said put your hands behind your back, you can ask any black man how he feels when you're getting ready to get arrested, or even when you have an encounter with law enforcement. Exactly.
I'll tell you.
He was scared. He ran. How do you feel, Ivan? How do you feel when you have an encounter with a police officer?
I am petrified. I'm not even going to lie. I'm 6'5", 360 pounds, and when those lights turn on behind me, I'm wondering, in the back of my mind, that moves quickly to the front of my mind, is, am I going to make it home? Because I don't know what type of day that police officer had. I don't know if you know, what his background is. All I know is this is how someone else died. I had a conversation, Mimi, with my son at the age of 17 years old, right? And the conversation was, look, when you get pulled over, you know the whole routine. When you get pulled over, put your hands here. This is, ask the police officer, can you reach for your license? You know, and this is a shame, because we're in this date and time that now 98%, 99%, might be 102% of African American and people of color families are telling their kids, look, instead of going to the prom and having a good time, when you go to the prom, I'm gonna need you to do this, and I'm gonna need you to act this way. And I love what Kathy said about change. And Kathy, when you see, like in today's world, like white and black people getting together for a change of saying, hey, this is wrong, we have to have a better world. What is that like for you, Kathy? Not AG Kathy Jennings, Kathy Jennings. What is that like?
Well, to tell you the truth, I'm one of the protesters. And it's just in my blood. When I see injustice, I'm passionate about it. And I know Representative Brown, you know, her statements are so heartfelt and true. We need change, and we need it now.
Right.
We owe that to the people we serve. And we need to make the hard changes. You know, we need to make the hard changes that are going to make that dynamic of, if you're a black person and you see those police lights behind you, you shouldn't be terrified. You shouldn't be terrified. You should be treated exactly the same as any other person. I don't feel that way. I'm white. And so that's wrong that we have this distinction and that children learn it from an early age.
Yeah.
They learn that they are treated differently from an early age. We just have to start from the ground up to rebuild trust. And I agree with Representative Brown. We very much need de-escalation training for every police department in this state. I know that there are several that do it now, and it should be ongoing.
Right.
It shouldn't be a one and done in the police academy and then it's over. It should be ongoing. And I also think we all need to have those difficult conversations together, together about how do both sides come together and understand
Right.
each other. It's really a matter of opening your heart. The hardest thing is to look inside yourself and say, oh, I said that, I did that, I thought that. And say to yourself, how can I be different? But now is a time when each one of us needs to say, how can we help? How can we be part of the change?
State Rep Mimi.
Yes.
I was trolling. I know that's a crazy word to say right now. Trolling through your Facebook, and I saw a video that you had with your son. Can you talk to me about that video? Tell us people about that video.
Okay, so that is the I Can't Breathe Challenge. And back in 2015, actually, Samuel L. Jackson did a video, and it was the same video, and he called it the I Can't Breathe Challenge. And a lot of people caught on to it, and they recorded a video. A lot of people did it with their kids, and they posted it on social media. So it kind of died down, and I thought about it like, man, that was back in 2015, and here we are, we're still having this conversation. So I decided to throw that video out there on Facebook with my son, not only for others to see it and hopefully do a video of their own, possibly with their kids, but it also helps my son get through this.
Okay.
Because he is really having a hard time with this. And to see the stress in a 6-year-old, it's rough. You know, I think we cannot continue to say that, you know, African Americans are more susceptible to getting chronic disease and heart disease and high blood pressure. You know, we need to really look at why.
Right.
If you're stressed at 6 years old,
Yeah.
because you don't know if you're going to live to have children, because you're afraid of, you know, encountering law enforcement, because you're afraid that people are looking at you different when you walk into a store or walk down the street, of course you're going to be stressed. So imagine that stress at 6.
Yeah.
You're going to have high blood pressure at 16.
Right.
You just are. So we really need to look at that. Sorry, I got off topic a little bit, but
No, you're good. You're good. Can you go over some of the words that's in that I Can't Breathe challenge?
Sure.
Because they were so impactful. I sat there with tears in my eyes watching it.
aw. So I actually cried a little too when my son was singing it. But it goes, I can hear my neighbor crying, I can't breathe. Now I'm in the struggle and I can't leave. Calling out the violence of the unjust police. We ain't gonna stop till people are free. And you just continue to repeat it.
Yeah. I you know, my daughter loves the police, right? She sees the police officers and it was, you know, she lights up. And then one day she asked me, she's like, Daddy, are they gonna kill me? And you know, my fault, I'm sorry. You get emotional because, you know, when you're 6, you don't plan on, you don't plan on telling your 6-year-old, your kid that you might make it, you know. Oh, wow.
No guarantees.
Yeah. All right. So, Kathy, we talk about change. What was it like being down there in Dover and watching people, Mimi's colleagues from across the aisle say, hey, I support you, I'm with you guys. What was that like?
I think it was transformative. I think it is the beginning. I think it was a really good sign that there is a willingness, that there is agreement, wide consensus of leaders who are telling the public, we're willing to change. We not only are willing to change, we are going to be part of the change.
Right.
And that's at a really basic level, so that Ivan, your child, and Mimi, your child, grow up in a different world. It's going to take a lot of work to get the difficult things done, but I am confident we will get there.
Awesome, awesome. I also want to talk, while I got you, Kathy, your list of priorities as AG. Can you go down that list for me?
Sure. It's much of what I talked about previously. Some of the changes I'd like to see are legislative, and we've discussed what those changes would be. And some of the changes are policy and practice.
Love it.
So I'm working with our office and with police agencies statewide on reaching consensus on releasing videos of police shootings and other videos so that the public understands themselves,
Yeah.
you know, what's going on here, and it's not hidden in a dark corner. We're working on a statewide use of force policy that would require all police departments statewide to follow, and it would be robust. It would severely limit the types of force that can be used and provide training for those instances when force is absolutely necessary. We're working with the Police Chiefs Council on that, and I'm happy to say that the head of the Police Chiefs Council, Chief Pat Ogden, is really in favor of this, as are other police departments in the state.
Nice.
And then there are issues with just transparency generally, and that's going to involve changing the law enforcement officer Bill of Rights so that there's a do not hire list if police officers have been terminated for unlawful use of force or official misconduct, and that list should be public as well.
Wow. Change is going to come. Matter of fact, change is here. Mimi Brown, Frank Cook, accountability. What you think?
We have to have accountability. We have to. You know what? The thing is, we're not going to be able to change everybody's mind frame, okay? Some people are just like, nope, I'm racist. I don't like black people. I think they're beneath me. Okay? And that's fine. If that's how you feel, that's your problem. But there has to be some level of accountability for people to understand that if you take action on this, this is what is going to happen. And I think, you know, there is going to be some opposition. You know, a lot of times police officers, they get defensive because not all cops are bad cops, you know? So we're going to have opposition, and there are going to be conversations, but the accountability factor, it has to happen. Because we're tired of it. And you know, who wants to be driving and thinking, God, I don't want to be the next Sandra Bland, you know? Yeah. Who wants to be driving and thinking, gosh, I can get shot in my car like Philandro Castile? Come on. Yeah. It's just, it's not right. Yeah. So it has to happen. And we have to literally put our foot down and keep it down. Yeah, yeah. We've been hearing about privilege. And this is directed to both of you, questions for both of you. White privilege and black privilege. Mimi, how do you use your privilege to change the world? And Kathy, the same question. How do you use your white privilege to change the world? And let's start with Mimi. I didn't know black privilege existed. But what I will say is that I'm honored to be an elected official right now literally during the second civil rights movement. And, you know, that's huge for me because I'm in a position where I can drive that change, you know, but I also need our young leaders to continue standing up, continue speaking out, because they are the ones that are going to help drive this change. You know, I'm seeing our youth just stand up and they're just doing so good. I see them rising up into these leaders, and it's amazing, you know. So to continue encouraging and empowering them, to do my part on speaking up, you know, I will not be silenced. I will not allow my voice to be shrunken or the youth's voice, but also to empower my white colleagues to speak up, you know, because we need white people to help drive this change. We've been fighting for this for decades, right? Yeah. And where are we? Okay, we're eating in the same restaurants and our kids are going to the same schools and we're still seeing inequities there. So until white people start talking about it, and we're seeing that now, but they have to continue talking about it and they can't be afraid. You know, I hear things like, well, I don't really know what to say, or I'm trying to understand both points of view, and I'm looking for if you're still looking for it, I'm gonna tell you now, you're not gonna find it, okay, because it's here. You know, and if you can't find it here, then you don't have it.
Right.
You know, so if anything, just empowering people to continue to drive this change. We can't stop. The protest can't stop. You know, we have to continue talking about it. And I think that's what people are afraid of. People are afraid that this will die down, you know, and then 3 years from now, you know, somebody's killing will reach national news, you know, or we'll watch another Facebook Live of a black man, or maybe it'll be a black woman this time being murdered, and then it'll start back up again. But we can't do that. We have to keep going, you know, and we need white people to feel that same pain. When the way they felt when they saw those fires, when they saw those buildings getting busted into and lit on fire and the looting, that same level of anger, I need them to feel that same level of anger that they feel for those buildings that are replaceable, to feel that same level of anger for these lives that are being taken every single day. And when they feel that, they'll be able to speak up and drive this change.
Kathy?
So the way I see this is a civil rights movement that has been long in the making. This country has seen centuries of slavery, has seen over 100 years of lynchings, has seen Jim Crow laws that discriminated against black people, and has seen incarceration rates that are totally out of control and disproportionately affect black people. It is time for us to not only open our minds, but our hearts. And when you really are at the forefront of change, when you make these tough decisions about what you're gonna do, it's a pretty lonely place at times, but that's why we got elected. We have to be leaders. This is a time when we must all be leaders and face that loneliness and face that opposition and say, we're going to get through this, because history will judge us harshly if we don't do what's right now. Some of that involves just getting real. We can't sit in our offices and make those changes. We need to sit down and talk to people. We need to open our hearts to people who are asking us, pleading with us, and saying, I can't breathe. And we need to let the oxygen into the room. And that means that all of us need to open up to the voice of change and make it happen. And we can only do that when we listen and when we talk with people who are advocating for justice. And we can only do it when we sit down with police officers and be honest and be forthright about the changes that are needed now. And I am confident that our legislature, I am confident that other public officials, and I am confident that our office will walk forward into a future that is more fair and more just for everyone.
Ladies, thank you so much for your time and space. I really appreciate you. It is your main man, Big Iv, the Talking to Town, Mr. DETVCH.com. And this is a special segment off of our series, America's Turning Point, here on DETV with Good Morning Wilmington. So make sure you follow, like, subscribe, wherever you are right now, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Follow us, because we have a whole lot, many more guests coming in to talk about what we need to do as Delawareans to make Delaware the first state to make the first step. All right, it's your main man, Big Iv. Ladies, again, thank you so much. I appreciate you both. And I really want to say, I'm proud of you both. You ladies rock. All right, the blue pink wave. If you remember from 2016, that's what it was. The blue pink wave. It's your main man, Big Eye, the talk of the town, Mr. DETV, and we'll see you on Thursday.